Look under the car's hood or dashboard. Many cars have 2 fuse boxes, but there is no universal standard for their placement. Many manufacturers choose to keep them near the car's engine or battery. Other manufacturers like to hide the fuse boxes inside the car, beneath the steering wheel. Look for a gray or black box, usually with the word "fuses" printed on it. Pop your vehicle's hood to find the box located near the battery or engine. The fuse boxes can be in different locations. You may have one underneath the car's hood and another inside the car. Check your car or repair manual if you can't find the fuse boxes. These manuals come with new cars and are brimming with time-saving information, such as the location of the fuse boxes. This is helpful if your fuse boxes seem to be hidden pretty well. Some car manufacturers put fuse boxes in tricky locations such as in the glove box, near the brake pedal, in the trunk, or under the rear seat. If you don't have your manual, search for your car's make and model online. If a part of your car isn't working properly, use the manual to go directly to the fuse responsible for the part that lost power. Remove the lid from the fuse box by pulling the latch. Look for a small latch jutting out from the lid side. Slide your fingers underneath the latch. Then, pull the latch towards you to easily pop the lid off of the fuse box. Some lids need to be rotated before they can be pulled off of the fuse box. Read the fuse box label on the back of the lid. Most fuse boxes have a diagram on the inside portion of the lid. It will list what system each fuse powers, its amp rating, and its corresponding location in the fuse box. This is very useful, since each fuse box will have around 20 fuses. For example, a square in the diagram's upper left corner might have the word "radio" printed on it, so you know the fuse for the radio is in the upper left corner of the box. If your lid doesn't have a diagram, you can always find the fuse box diagram in the manual. Leave the fuse connected in the fuse box. Don't remove the fuse yet. This can be dangerous if the car is on. Removing a functioning fuse may also cause minor problems to the connected systems. Instead, examine each fuse while it is in place inside the box. If you find yourself having a hard time identifying damaged fuses, you can pull fuses out of the box. Make sure the car's ignition is turned off first. Removing a working fuse can erase data stored in the car's diagnostic system. This problem isn't a big deal unless you need to get your car repaired. Check fuses for broken wires or scorch marks. Take a flashlight with you so the damaged components are easier to see. There are 2 types of fuses you may encounter, but they both operate the same way. If the inside of the fuse is black, you know it is broken. If it is clear, look inside it to see if the wire is still whole. The most common type of fuse is a 2-pronged plastic chip. It will have a U-shaped wire running between the prongs. An older type of fuse is the transparent glass or plastic cylinder. It has a wire running end to end. Purchase a modern test light. You can purchase this tool at a hardware store or electronics store. Select a computer-safe model with an LED light in the handle or an incandescent bulb powered by a battery or power outlet. Never test car wiring with an incandescent bulb that draws power from the circuit. This style of test light can trigger the airbags, causing massive car damage. If you have a multimeter, you can use it instead of a test light. Clamp the black grounding lead to a piece of metal. The clamp will be at the end of the test light opposite from the incandescent bulb. Squeeze the end of the clamp to open the jaws. Then, slide the jaws over a metal component near the fuse box. Any metal piece on the car will work, so you don't need to stretch for any components out of your range. A great place to clamp the grounding lead is on the battery's negative terminal. It is the black terminal and may be marked with a sign. Note that newer LED models may not have a clamp and you do not need to attach them to anything. Turn the key in the ignition to start the car's electrical system. Turn the key so it is in the run position. This should activate the car's electrical systems, such as the radio and door lights, without starting the engine. You can test this by attempting to turn on the radio if it isn't already on. Make sure the engine stays off. You don't want a full electrical current coursing through the car's parts while you're working on them. Test the light by touching its probe to a power source. You can operate the test light by pressing the tip down onto different electrical components. To test the light, you will need to find something you know is in working order and has power running through it. The easiest option, if you can reach it, is the car battery's positive terminal. The test light should glow immediately. The positive terminal will be red with a plus sign marked on it. You can also touch the probe to a working fuse or the positive battery cable's metal connectors. Touch the probe to the fuse to see if the bulb lights up. Every fuse has a pair of testing ports. On two-prong fuses, you can find these holes on the top side at both ends. Slide the end of the probe into the fuse's port. Repeat this with the other side. If the bulb lights up both times, the fuse still works. For cylindrical fuses, touch the probe against both ends. If neither end causes the bulb to light up, make sure the black lead wire is grounded and that power is running to the fuse box. If your car component doesn't work but the fuse still does, the problem may be somewhere else. You can use the probe to test objects like brake switches. Turn the ignition key to shut the car off. Turning off the engine shuts off the car's electrical supply. If you have an electric car, also make sure the car is not connected to a charging port. Keep the power off to avoid a nasty electric shock. Always make sure the car is off before using the multimeter, since live circuits are dangerous. Remove the fuse with a pair of needle nose pliers. Needle nose pliers are small and have long noses, making them perfect for dealing with those tiny fuses in your car. First, open the fuse box if you haven't already by pulling the latch. Squeeze the handles to open up the pliers and clamp them onto the fuse. Pull the fuse upwards to lift it out of the fuse box without any struggling. You may be able to lift the fuses out with your fingernails, but prying out these minuscule fuses by hand can be a challenge. A regular pair of pliers or tweezers may work, or you can even use the end of a paperclip to leverage the fuse. If you plan on testing more than one fuse in a car's fuse box, take a photograph first so you know exactly where each fuse goes. Set the multimeter to test resistance. This setting looks like the Greek letter omega, or omega. The resistance setting sends a small current through the fuse, testing how much current goes through. Make sure the multimeter's dial points to this setting. Analog multimeters have multiple omega settings. Choose the option listed as omega X1 or RX1. Touch the two probes together to test the multimeter. The multimeter will have a black and red wire hanging from it. Each wire has a metal probe at the end. When you touch the probes together, the multimeter's readout should change to show zero resistance. Your multimeter will have a dial if it is an analog model or a button if it is digital. You can use this to calibrate the meter back to zero if it gives you a false reading. Touch the probes to the ends of the fuse. Hold onto the fuse as you press the probes against the metal terminals on the fuse's bottom end. Trying to juggle the wires and the small fuse at the same time can be tricky at first, but keep at it. If the fuse is still good, the multimeter's needle or number will change like it did when both probes were touching. You can pop a good fuse right back into the fuse box. If the number doesn't change, your fuse is busted. You will need to replace it. Shut the car's power off by turning the ignition key. The car's engine needs to be off, not running while you install the replacement. A running current can lead to a painful shock. Take precautions to avoid turning a simple repair into a costly hospital visit. Take the key out of the ignition to make sure the car is off. You can also try turning on the radio to see if the power is off. If you have an electric car, detach any charging cables from outlets. Pull the cover off of the fuse box to check the diagram. Lift the latch on the side of the fuse box to loosen the cover. You will see a diagram somewhere on the box, usually on the lid. This diagram shows you where each fuse is located in the box as well as their amperage rating. You will need to know the amperage rating in order to get a new fuse. If you can't locate a diagram, look in the owner's manual or repair manual for more information. Remove the fuse from the box using needle nose pliers. Old fuses are easy to remove. The biggest challenge is their small size, but needle nose pliers are designed to grasp small components. Fit the pliers on the fuse, then lift the fuse out of the box. All the fuses are different sizes, so use the size along with the diagram to pick the correct fuse. Inspect it for damage before replacing it. Purchase an identical replacement fuse. Head to an auto supply store to find fuses for your car. Getting there may be tricky if your car is disabled due to a blown fuse. However, you should bring the fuse with you to ensure you get a proper match. The new fuse should be the same type, shape, and amp rating as your old fuse. Car fuses are color-coded, so if the fuses are a different color, you know right away they aren't a match. The amp rating is the number written on the fuse. If the fuse has the wrong amp rating, it can short-circuit or cause damage to your car. Transparent cylindrical fuses come in two types, a straight fast blow wire and a coiled slow blow wire. Remember to match the wire shapes in your new and old fuse. Pop the new fuse into your fuse box. Setting the new fuse in the box is painless. Make sure the car is still off, then set the fuse in the empty slot. Press down with a little pressure until it pops into place. You're already done and can turn on your car to test it. Glass fuses sometimes need to be installed by pushing one end into place at a time.